Good morning, everyone. Welcome, Jobman community. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am especially excited for today. We've had a great webinar series all year, and I can say with absolute delight that this is the biggest webinar registration and attendee list we've had. So it tells me two things. Number one, this is a very exciting topic. And number two, I think everybody will gain benefit out of what we're going to talk about today. Today is a special event webinar. Rather than just a simple deep dive into what's new and features, I have a phenomenal opportunity to showcase an incredible new addition to the software. Um, Typically, we would not showcase, as many of you know, um, any features, usability upgrades that aren't already in the software. So normally we would wait till they're released, give everyone a bit of a chance to have a look and play and understand, and then we would step in and I would do a webinar a week later. So you get really good understanding and usability of the feature. However, this particular feature is an absolute game changer. And I'm going to be straight up and honest. It hasn't been developed for systems at this price point anywhere in the world. This particular feature you can probably pick up if you're willing to spend about $100,000 or $150,000 a year in extremely deep software, massive ERPs, but no one offers this level of in-depth capability at the price that we offer, on top of everything else Jobman does for your business. So on that half, I was very excited and wanted to get ahead of the curve and bring this feature to your attention before it's even released. But secondly, I wanted an opportunity to be able to show you how you can utilize this for your business and essentially how this is going to start putting money back in your pocket almost immediately. And I think understanding that point means that from the get-go, as soon as it's released, you'll have an opportunity to start moving forward with your business with Jobman, knowing what it does before it's even hit the deck. And I think that has huge credit to what we want to achieve at the moment. On top of that, I'm also going to do a little bit of a deep dive case study into some of our other reporting. One of the interesting things about Jobman is we get a lot of requests through all the time from people looking to solve custom problems via the reporting. And the most exciting part about our reporting system is that 99% of the time the data's there. There is a way to grab the data and use it. It's just a matter of understanding how to utilize those filters and where to put them through, and that sometimes it's not always going to be available in one report. Our job is to present you with the data so that you can utilize it to improve your business. And it might mean you have to run a couple of reports, but the fact that the data's there is the most important part. If you're then looking to take that one step further, the true superpower of Jobman is in fact its API. So that ability to take all of that correlated and collected data and utilize an external system where you can build any custom report you want. For example, Power BI is a great use case where people have been able to utilize all of the data trapped in our system and then build custom reports and dashboards to suit their business. That's giving you the insights every day the way you want to see them. Now, the reason why we recommend that is because if I asked 100 cabinet makers what report they wanted to see every day, I'd get 100 different responses. So the difficulty for us, obviously, is we can't go through and build 100 custom reports because what it'd do is two things. It would massively overbloat the software, but two, it would force us to push the price point up. Building those custom reports are massively expensive, and we don't ever want to do that. One of the things we love about Jobman in the market is it comes to every business in the SME industry that comes in at a price point that delivers massive return. And the more we can keep that price point at a really comfortable level while still delivering that return, the better it is for you. And most importantly, it removes the necessitation to go look at, $100,000, $150,000 a year solutions. However, the data's there. You're still going to get the same result. So, really exciting. Looking forward to this. The best part about today, realistically, for me, is that a lot of you actually are participating today. So that's going to give us a great opportunity to get some Q&A in. I really enjoy the interactive part of these webinars. And this is a great opportunity for you to have your answers, your questions answered if I don't cover them beforehand, and get a really good feel for what the software can do for you. The most important part about this webinar, and part of the reason I've sort of hung off doing it for a while, but now I feel really confident and comfortable coming in and presenting this, is the key return on investment on any platform that you bring into your business is the data. So understanding how to get the data then turns around and helps you understand how to build the software. If you know what you're trying to achieve and the things you're trying to get out, then those processes that get introduced into your business to trap and correlate those data points make sense, and also makes it way easier for you to streamline how to build the software for your business. And it can be little things. One of the things I'm going to show you today is contact sourcing. It's such a little extra field, and your team might turn around and say, "Oh, well, it's one extra thing I've got to fill out when I create a lead from a contact." What they don't see is that at the end of the year, that one field of data being built into your software and then being utilized and added provides a report that can direct your marketing spend for the next year and potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars in incorrect decision making. One tiny process, tens of thousands of dollars back in your pocket. And that's what excites me. And it's something I don't get to talk about enough in these webinars. Most of our webinars focus on feature and functionality and use case and how to build in the software. This is the webinar I've been looking forward to doing all year, where I can come in and basically show you just how to put money back in your pocket. And that's awesome. So look, let's dive in. It's going to be a big day. It's a very simple agenda. Reporting with two serious main focuses. Number one, the new stock ledger report backed by the new inventory ledger. I'm going to show you what that means, what it does, how it can be used, and most importantly, because it's a little bit different to the other reporting you will have seen in Jobman, basically how to interpret what's happening. And if you're anything like the people I've already been speaking to over the last couple of days on the back of everybody getting very excited for this webinar, I imagine you already have ideas in your head as to how this can be used and how powerful it is. And hopefully today we get to answer that question, all those questions, so that you know exactly what's about to happen in your business when this gets released. And the second part, I'm hoping that we should have a bit of time. I want to dive into some use studies of our other reporting and how to use the filters, so you get a bit of a good understanding of how to use them. A lot of the time we get support tickets through and people are tracking data or looking for data, and the data's there and there's ways of getting it. It's just understanding how our reporting works. And rather than just do the whole click here, click there thing, I'm going to present some use cases which are common questions we get from clients. I want to see that information and how to get to that point, so that we can move forward from there. There's one major caveat I need to present on this webinar, which I would not usually present in a webinar, and that is the caveat for this feature is it's not yet released. So this is in beta. I have access to it. I get to showcase it to you, but it's not live in your software right now. The reason I have to make that caveat is because I don't want you to come off this webinar and go, all right, I'm going to get stuck straight in. But I think this is one of those features where we didn't want to hold back. We wanted to show you how to use it, what it can be used for, so that you're ready and prepared and armed when it comes live. The other reason why that caveat's a bit weird is because we load all of our webinars after they're done. So if you are watching this post hoc, as in after today's date, which is the 9th of October, 2025, just for reference, the feature is likely alive in your system and ready to go and be used. So everyone live, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be massive. Let's dive in. As always, this webinar is being fully recorded. We will be sending a copy directly out to the registries and attendees. So even if you registered today but were unable to attend, you'll be the first in the know as this comes out. So you can review this and get your team ready for this and how to take advantage of these features moving forward. Post that, usually in about a week or so, the webinar will also be loaded up onto YouTube Live. So for those of you who are subscribers to our channel, and I certainly do recommend it, we put a lot of education material up there for free. We really just give away the barn when it comes to Jobman. Anything you want to know or understand is on that channel. It's worth subscribing, especially if you've got team members and your staff that utilize the software heavily in your business. Having them gain a better understanding of how to use it just puts more money back in your pocket. Lastly, everyone is on mute today. Don't feel that's not because I don't appreciate you being here. It's just so that we can keep things moving forward. And then at the end of the webinar, I like to allow some time so that we can do some Q&A and answer some direct questions. For those of you not comfortable with Zoom, there's a Q&A or chat button down the bottom. You don't have to wait to the end of the webinar. If you see a question as we're moving through and you're like, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, simply whack it in the chat and then in the Q&A. So when I get to the end of the webinar, I'll start working through those and we'll get through as many as we can with the time we have. I'm hoping we have a bit of time left over. I'm going to focus on trying to get done as quick as possible so that we can get into that Q&A and get your questions answered and get us off and running. No massive PPS today. We're going to keep this nice and short because I want to get into the software. But the major release into the platform is the new inventory ledger and associated stock ledger report. Now, there's a reason why I'm differentiating from the two terms. For the most part, all you need to be worried about at the moment is the stock ledger report when it comes out. But the reason I want to talk about the inventory ledger itself is because it has monstrous capability beyond just the report. Right now, the entire focus of the inventory ledger is that report. It's going to be tracking data in your system and building it. And one of the good things that we have been able to do for our clients is we've actually pre-released the ledger. So right now, as we're talking in the back of your software, as these things are starting to happen, we are now trapping that data for you so that when it becomes live and you actually go into the report, you'll have some numbers to work with and really see the effect immediately. That was, I think, a really good decision on the team's behalf to get the ledger in first and get things moving, start trapping some data and migrating up. And then, of course, all of your inventory numbers that are currently there will be migrated in. So you've got a base point. You've got somewhere to begin with this ledger. And then we'd start trapping forward. What does it really mean? What is it? What is this thing I keep banging on about? So I want you to think in our system to the two key fundamentals of what we provide from an information basis for improvement for your business. And the two keys, there's a lot of other factors, of course, but the two key returns is understanding your estimate versus your actual. If you really wanted to nut down an entire ERP, aside from automation and transparency and all those wonderful things, the real true benefit to your business is understanding those two key points. If you know that your quoting is going out the door profitably, and then you're actually able to run the jobs and do the measurements of time and material versus those estimates, you can now see in a live fashion what's happening within your business. And rather than waiting to the end of the year to talk to the accountant and saying, how did we go? How much do we make? How can we improve? I.e. looking at things at a really high level, holistic level. Nothing wrong with that. It's how every business works, basically. The unfortunate part to that is, number one, is a time delay between you seeing improvement because you've got to wait to find out the data. And number two, really the only answers that can be given are fairly high level. Sell more, cost less. That's as simple as profit loss is, and it sounds a little bit simplistic, but that's the truth. That's all that data can really give you is sell more, cost less. What Jobman wants to do and what our purpose in your business, aside from automation, transparency, and so many other great facets, is realistically to give you that data live. So that as you travel throughout the year and you're running your jobs from quote to job, and then you're estimating your time in the quote, and then the team's running the time. I estimated 100 hours of cutting. Let's go run the job and find out how long the cutting took. Drafting, assembly, so on and so forth. Simultaneously, our job is also to measure and trap the amount of materials that are being used in the system, because that's the two key facets to most manufacturing is labor and materials. So we're allowing you to purchase order through the system, and we're tracking those purchase order numbers. We have a fantastic inventory management system, so you're able to bring in inventory into the platform, take advantage of automation from sourcing, and then see those numbers. And we even go as far as adding things like services into that equation as well. So you get even a little bit more breakdown. And a big part of that, of course, is taking your costing, allowing you to set your overhead, wastage, and margins, profit margins, sorry, and then seeing the final result. And the continuous level of improvement to that is that you can go through at any point throughout the year and look at your job cost reports and go, oh, yeah, cool. As of today, all our jobs are up to X. We estimated this job was 100 grand. And so far, we've spent 40 grand on materials and 20 grand on labor. Assuming this job is just about done, we should make, 20 or 30K. The system then comes in and gives you benefit by any reworks or maintenance to be able to come in and attach them as work orders. So now we can see not just the standardized metrics, estimate versus actual, but also what the stuff ups are costing us in real time. All of this is phenomenal. Part of our labor trapping is twofold. One, it is the HR component of your business, so solving the payroll effect. Make it easy, get everyone to sign on, click onto operations, measure their time, and fill out your payroll sheet. Put a few hours back in your week from a nice high level of automation, and obviously start paying you back money with the software almost immediately. The second part to that, though, is trapping and measuring those operations via tasks per job or lead. But really, job, I'm going to focus on a lot of the jobs today and job costing. So that allows you to trap points in time and say, as of Thursday, how many hours of assembly were done versus this job. It's what we call a ledger style report. We're constantly keeping a ledger of those in historic points because in order to handle your payroll, we need to be able to know that information. The reason I bring that up is the delineation between all our other reporting is live. If you run a stock report, it's how much stock do you have on hand today. If you run a purchasing report, it's how much purchasing up until this point based on that time frame have you done. Invoicing reports, job cost reports, job reports, lead reports, they're all live. And the reason being is because that's the most relevant information to your business. There's really no technical advantage to knowing the difference between purchasing on the 15th of March and the 16th of March. It provides no insight to your business that's going to allow any form of forward momentum or continuous improvement. So we don't bother trapping it to point. We simply say you can filter to that period and we'll show you all the data as of live during that period. Nice and easy, provides the response. It means we don't have to weigh our software down, trapping trillions of data points. You get live reporting, you get the information you want, you're getting return on investment, you're moving forward with your life. There's an exception to that though, and that exception is that for clients that really want to take their accountability in their business to the next level, what they do need to be able to see or really want to be able to see is the inventory ledger movements at a point in time. So that means when you think about stock in our system, there's 4 points at which your stock moves. It's assigned to job. It's then sourced, and that source is either from purchase order, in transit, or inventory. That's a movement. So the minute it's been assigned to the job, that's what I'll refer to in this webinar as a stock movement. When that stock is received from purchase order, it then becomes an inventory ledger as well. And that inventory ledger can be stock or assigned to job. So now there's another point at which we can see inventory coming in. That stock is then picked as the team uses it or removed, for those of you more comfortable with the term, inside the job. So that's another data point at which the stock has moved through or the inventory has moved through your warehouse and process. And the reason why those 3 points are so important is because each of them provides a unique perspective as to what is happening live in the material basis of your business. Now, I'm going to throw it out there, I would say 70+% of businesses, this is not a level they need to go to. You know what I mean? If you're not using the system to a point or you've never encountered an ERP to this level and you are not measuring data points, and that is to use the system so fully that you are in fact doing all those processes from catalog to job assignment to sourcing to pick listing. If you're not running that entire flow through our software, then it's unlikely that any of those data points have much meaning to your business, whatever. However, if you are using our software, and this is why we've developed this moving forward to that level, for a lot of companies, they really do want to understand and know that data because it is going to put 4 massive return of investments back in your business. And this is why I'm so excited. I'm trying to keep really calm at the moment, but this is why I'm so excited. Data point number one, stock amortization. I think I butchered the name, but you all know what I'm talking about. We're sitting on stock, we have inventory, and up until point X in time, we've utilized that stock over and over because it works and it's our standardized ranges. And then something changes in the market, we stop selling that thing. And we've got a bunch of stuff sitting there. That's cost sitting on your floor. Cost that's sitting on your floor, which currently you aren't really seeing unless you've got someone in your business going down every week and remeasuring those numbers and then someone trying to track that information. That's data point number one we can give you. What's not moving? Why is that important? Because you can then turn around and encourage the design team or the sales team for the next couple of months to focus on just getting rid of that stock. And maybe there's 12 grand worth of hinges sitting down there that you haven't been utilizing. That 12 grand is 12 grand sitting in your pocket. Jobman can now give directly back to you from that one piece of information. For our average customer, that's the software paid for 2 or 3 years. One data point. Data point number two, stock movement transference. So one of the key understandings when looking at your forecasting is understanding exactly how much money we're going to need, either sitting on the floor or coming in to cover the jobs coming forward so we can make our percentage in market. So that's a big one. And right now you can see your purchasing numbers, you can see your quote summary reporting. So you can sort of forecast a bit and say, hey, we've got, 30 quotes sitting out there at the moment at an average of 30 grand. That's about $900,000 worth of work. We know that we win 40%. So assuming that our sales team next month comes in and is able to convert 40% of our leads, there's $400,000 worth of sales coming in. We know that we work on 17%, or if you're a Jobman client, even higher because you have a profit-driven system. Understanding that, I need to know how much labor and material I'm going to want to have in for next month. So I can look at my inventory movement and say, well, over the last month, where we turned over basically the same amount, we know that we moved $180,000 worth, as in it was removed from our warehouse, that key point picking removed. Fantastic. So long as I have $180,000 or I am expecting to bring in about $180,000, then it shouldn't cost me anything to be able to run those $400,000 worth of sales. If I'm sitting on 50K, I'm 130 grand short, which means I'm now looking at my invoicing reports to understand the forecasting of what money is going to come in to cover those amounts. Huge benefit just in that number, knowing that number. So that's removed. It's amortization. I'm going to look up that word after this webinar, by the way. Number three is then understanding when things get moved incorrectly. So a common example that people bring to us is they utilize the quote system and they come through the process and they do the design in CAD and they optimize. And let's say from the quoting point of view, you've allowed for 10 sheets of whiteboard for your carcasses. And I am focusing heavily on the cabinet making industry at the moment just because this is just really comfortable for the majority of our users to understand this language. If you are not in the cabinet making industry, you will understand and see the points I'm making towards how powerful this inventory side is. So understanding and seeing that, you bought those 10 boards in, and you've estimated on those 10 boards, and then your CAD and design software gets involved and optimizes and nests and says, we can do this in 9. Fantastic. So we go purchase 9 boards. We bring them in, they come into inventory. We now got a ledger report for assignment to job and brought into the inventory itself. And from there, we can say, awesome. The team then goes, picks 8 boards. Or they use 9 boards and then run an alert and have to grab an extra board. That means there was a stuff up. So from our job costing point of view, while we estimated 10, we've used 10. We're okay because we have a margin, but this job is not going to be as profitable as we thought it was. Understanding those differences between things coming in and out is extremely important. And now you'll be able to track those as well. So all of that really comes into these 4 headings. And I'm going to dive in. I promise we're going to dive into the software and get into it so we can start showing you what's going on here. But really, they're all trapped and based around these 4 important movements in your business. It is the receival of inventory and having a ledger to understand when, why, how much. Picked, the removing of the stock from your business, because that is now taking that facet out of your business. And there certainly is a use case to say that whilst understanding inventory on hand, like stock on hand, is very useful, being able to nail that down to exactly how much is sitting in warehouse and how much potentially is sitting in trucks versus how much is installed out in the market is a very key metric for both planning and understanding the visibility of those numbers. We then have the sourced, so how much of our inventory is actually assigned, so to speak, how much has been sourced out to different jobs. And that can come from either direct assignment, that is to say, we've done a job purchase order, we've bought the stuff, brought in for the job, custom, or from batch ordering, we've run an order with Hafele and X amount has been sourced into jobs, or you've placed a stock order for 200 whiteboard. Of that 200 whiteboard, how much have we used at that price? Now, the most important facet to that information is that Jobman's inventory ledger is measuring your inventory at a point in time. So if I buy a whiteboard this week and it's $15 a square, and I bring in 100 sheets and it gets delivered, all is good. We run 4 more jobs, and it turns out we didn't quite have enough because there are a few stuff up, so we need to go grab another 50 boards. In between order 1 and order 2, the suppliers put up the price by 3.5%. So it's now $16.25 a square. Knowing that the extra 50 sheets that came in for the 3 jobs at $16.25 a square, not 15 a square, is the difference in understanding the profitability of that job at a fairly granular level. And don't get me wrong, we're going pretty granular here, but that's the point. We want to deliver on that level of granularization. So for businesses that want to get that deep into the data that they can make absolutely cost-conscious decision-making moving forward from the day they have the data, not 6 months down the track, is very important. That's why this is so exciting. And then the last 2 are more just caveat understanding points. So deleted, restored is obviously someone stuffs up and accidentally adds the wrong item to stock. Potentially, you may have done a stock order and someone's gone in and added to your inventory and accidentally clicked the wrong catalog material. Hopefully, a lot of that's mitigated with our catalog imaging for you. So that's certainly a big feature that aligns with this. But we sort of need to track that in the ledger just so you can see, hey, someone stuffed up and then added something in. Most of the time, those 2 numbers are going to balance out. However, there are times when you are going to be removing stock. Things have been lost. And I think one of the 4th point, which I was alluding to alongside your other money and bag for this report and this feature, is understanding things that are missing. I think, excuse me, I think for a lot of companies, that is actually one of the key facets. Understanding movements and understanding the where and the where to and the why, very important, but it's understanding the missing. That's very key. And then we do have a 5th field in there, which I'm not going to dive into. Basically, it's unknown. This is there simply to cover up some, basically give us a use case where something may happen in the system from a weird a factor or reason, and there is no direct responsibility for you to tell the system why that's happened. So we kind of need to put it somewhere. I would say that 99% of the time, that's going to read as 0, but just to let you know why the field's there. All right, before I dive in, one super fast, quick shout out. One of my favorite new additions to the webinars is upcoming events for many of our partners or Jobman or things we're going to, just to give you an opportunity to talk to the team. One thing that is coming up that is absolutely massive is the Empire Blueprint Bootcamp. This is a huge opportunity for companies that want to get a really deep understanding of Jobman. The best thing about it is it's a 2-day intensive workshop. So rather than, if you have not yet learnt Jobman or you've only just started scratching the surface, the opportunity to get onto a webinar format, so from the comfort of your own home or office, and basically deep dive into understanding how to build and use this system in 2 days is phenomenal. And because it's a group session, the price makes absolute sense. So October went off with an absolute bang. They've decided to redo it again for November. So make sure you get in there. There are limited slots. They like to keep the actual boot camp itself quite contained, so there's a good opportunity to people to really interact. There's also an awesome social networking part to this, the ability to talk to other cabinet makers and manufacturers in your space who are going through this process of getting systemized and digitized. So that ability to be able to talk to some other people going through this process is invaluable, really, when you think about it. And that's one of the great things about the Jobman community, and certainly Empire Blueprint is doing a phenomenal job putting that event together. So if you are interested in more information, just reach out to us, sales@jobman.com. We can send you the link. Otherwise, you can find Empire Blueprint on our partners page and go direct there and find out about the bootcamp. But I highly recommend it. Phenomenal opportunity. And like I said, it really ties back into the idea of building your system to best use case this reporting. Really, everybody comes to us for a different reason, what they're looking for when they first start out with the software. We want to improve scheduling, capacity, inventory, quoting. There's 100 reasons why you come to Jobman, and we deliver on all of them. But realistically, the best benefit to your business is understanding the data points so you can build the system to give the data points. All right, that's enough banging on from me. Let's dive into this. So, coming very soon, you will now have two changes in your reporting panel. Change number one is because the stock ledger report will be coming into your system, we've had to make a very easy decision, but an interesting decision to make sure that we can separate the concept of these two reports in your platform. So right now it's the stock report. We've changed that to the stock on hand report, just so it's really clear what its functionality is. It's there to provide quick, fast turnaround data and basically say, how much am I sitting on right now in my business at a high level? And then give you the opportunity to filter in based on certain parameters that make sense for your business, such as category, supplier, brand, location, and probably most importantly, assignment versus non-assignment. So this ties into one of those use cases that I'm going to quickly cover before we dive into the ledger report. Rather than tell you about the filters, I'm going to tell you about the use case. So most commonly, what a lot of companies look for is what we call a work in progress report. It's the idea of how much work do we have on in, that's basically being manufactured versus where it's up to, versus how much stock we have assigned in for those jobs versus how much we've invoiced out. And it gives a pretty good, clear indication of where you're up to within the month. A lot of people look at that on a month by month sort of basis, and they want to understand those numbers so that you can quickly and easily make some assessment as to what next month will look like, for example, or how much you're going to need to follow up on your invoicing, make sure the cash flow is there, so on and so forth. So this forms a part of that reporting style where you can basically say, all right, give me all of the jobs and how much is currently assigned in inventory to those jobs. So that is just a holistic number. There's, let's say, $500,000 worth of stock in our factory or warehouse right now assigned to jobs. Simple number. Now show me all the stuff not assigned to jobs. We have $200,000 not assigned to jobs. So I know now that I have 500 grand sitting there for my jobs and 200 grand worth of stock that I can use towards the next lot of jobs or months work. So it's a quick, easy, fast breakdown. The most important thing to note about this report, as I said, is it's live. It's showing you the figures as of now. There's no historic. You can't go back to, show me how much I had on the 14th of March, for example. Because as I said, two reasons. Number one, it's a lot of data trap. Number two, it doesn't really provide a lot of holistic benefit to your system. Understanding that amount at that point. Too late. We've moved past. We were already operating. However, there is a use case to be said that understanding stock movement at a point in time is very, very important. And that's why the new ledger and stock ledger report have been brought in. So before I look at the other reports, let's go in and let's look at this phenomenal beast and start to get a run through. Please keep in mind this is beta, so the live version you will be seeing may be very slightly different. That's my caveat, and also its usability, whilst won't change before the release, you may notice things like speed ups and that sort of behavior. That's all part of our testing, but I just couldn't wait. I had to get this information out there. So this is the report I just showed you on the PPS. So you can see that right now I have $1 million, 20,221 sitting in what we call our ledger at point that it's been created, which will be the point of the release. The new fantastic component to this, though, is you can now see there is a huge amount of data from that breakdown. So let's get a bit of an understanding around this. That's the main key to today, so you know what you're looking at where this comes in. First of all, it's not just SKUs, it's inventory assignments. So what I mean by that is Jobman's pretty smart. If you have whiteboard, let's say white melamine, 16 mil, and that stock is sitting in your warehouse and you always buy it from Laminex, I'm not picking on any suppliers here, but you always buy it from Laminex and you've got 100 sheets and it's $15 a square. The system's pretty intelligent. When you go off and buy more stock, it's simply going to keep assigning to that inventory ledger. It knows that it's a type of stock, all the parameters of that stock match, therefore it's sitting there, which means you get a nice life cycle of the movement within that one stock inventory point. The secondary part to that is if I then, in the use case I mentioned earlier, go buy more stock, and this time it's $16.50 a square rather than 15, Jobman will now create a new inventory ledger. So that's what you're looking at here. You're looking at inventory ledgers. Now, for the most part, this information has been wrapped up on the front fascia just to make this really easy for people to read. If we deep dived directly into all these breakdowns straight away, it might get a bit overwhelming, and that's not what we want. And to be honest, for the most part, the information you're looking for is right there. I just want to see in a period of time, given that information, what's the current value? How much has changed in that period? What are the unit changes or quantity changes? So the difference between units and quantity, most job managers would be aware of, but quick example, when we buy whiteboard or board or sheet materials, and it's a 2400 by 1200 by 16 mil sheet, it's 2.88 square meters. That's the unit. That's what we buy, square meterage. But when we handle it, however, we handle it in sheets. So the quantity of a 2.88 square meter board is 1. So that's the difference between quantity and units. For the most part, throughout the software, those two numbers are going to be the same. I have 50 hinges. I have units of 50 because I buy 50. I buy them individually. I handle and deal with 50, for example. The two differences you'll usually see would be board materials and things like edge tape, where you might buy the roll and it's 100 lineal meters, and then you have X amount of lineal meters. So the units might be 0.8 of a roll, and the quantity might be 50 meters, for example. But for the most part, these two numbers should be the same, pretty straightforward. Where it gets super exciting, though, is now we have new column facets that can come in to give you extra layers of information. So we have the price per unit and the price per, whoops, come over here, buddy, price per unit change. Pretty straightforward. So how much does the unit cost us? And then based on the units that have changed, what is that unit change within our business? This is where you can start to see the data's coming alive. Units per item and units per item change, so that we can basically tell that on this stock inventory ledger, so this inventory item, super important to make the delineation. It's not SKU, it's that particular item. So you might have the same SKU with multiple inventory ledgers. For the most part, they'll be the same, but just so you know what you're looking at. What is that change? Is there a job assignment associated with that change? For example, when we source to and source from, what is the inventory item listing and the category? And the reason why this report is so powerful is the next part. So we're not only going to give you the holistic view, but we're going to give you the breakdown. Now, when you first load this report, I haven't done anything with this report, just so you could see this live, so you know what you're looking at when you come into it. All of these will be what we call initial entries. It's basically we took the decision to spend a little bit extra time with this development, putting in all of your current availability inventory. So everybody that's using our system properly right now can start with the system with data. Nothing worse than coming into a report and going, oh, we've got this new ledger report, and then, oh, I've got to start adding things to it. You know what I mean? We wanted to start you off on the right foot. And you can see that every single one of these is an individual entry level, because each and every one of these assignments is to a job or stock. So the good thing about the report, excuse me, is for the most part, what you'll be looking at is movement. So the high level movement. But if you want to drill in even harder, you can. And that's phenomenal. And of course, these can be printed and exported based on the time periods and filters you give it. So that's part one. I think that makes a lot of sense. Part two is, let's actually show you what that means in reality. So you now know what will happen moving forward. One of the great things about that report, of course, is the fact that because it is live, it is trapping each and every one of those movements moving forward. You'll be able to see that data, test that data, check that data, and start to get some really powerful insights. I guarantee most of you are sitting there right now, you already know what's about to happen, and you're like, this is phenomenal. The reason why I talk about price point is Fishbowl which is an inventory management system, which does nothing outside of what Jobman does, except that one key for your business is $1,000 a month. It's 12 grand a year to get this data. 12 grand a year that you would have to pay on top of a typical ERP system to get access to this. And we're putting it in for you. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind, how powerful this is, but also the cost association with it and the delivery, the immediate delivery back in return investment to your business just by this coming live. Let's get excited. Let's do some stuff. So I'm going to come into this job. I have a bunch of materials in here that have already been utilized and sourced and picked. Have already been added, just so we can get a bit of an understanding of typical process. So these might come from quote, CAD import, so on and so forth. Now, the key to inventory movement in your business, of course, is this super powerful feature here, which is the sourcing. This is the point at which Jobman then goes off and it runs three key checks. It checks if it is in stock, in which case we're going to assign it from inventory. If it's not available in inventory, we check any of your pending purchase orders, that is stock in transit, and assigns it from there. So there's no wastage going forward. And most importantly, number three, if it doesn't find any of those three, adds it to purchase order. The reason why that one process is so important to your business is because this is the exact moment that Jobman can now associate and assign the value to that job. This is the first point at which we can start tracking because we've now told the system what that is. And the reason why that's so important is not just the addition of the material from the catalog to your job. The reason why understanding that process is so important to reporting is because if I add the material and let's say it's $10 in your catalog, and then I go to purchase order it, or I grab it from inventory and your inventory says it's $12, I need you to know that difference. That is really important difference. So whilst I did say, sometimes one of the advantages of software is improvement and of process, sometimes the advantage of software is making the process work to ensure you have the reporting. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Where does the costing come from? How do we assign it? And how does that happen? That comes from this moment here, the sourcing. That's when we can bring those numbers live. So we've got some goods coming stock in transit and some purchase ordered. I am going to quickly create a material just because I want to show you the secondary benefit to the ledger so you can see it all in one flow. So let's grab our adjustable leg. I've got some in stock and I'm going to basically turn around and say, let's put 10 in here just for fun. Bring that down, inventory, adjustment, bang, line. So now we can start to see this information live. So this is job 0266. And I want you to focus on 2 points. Number one, we have an inventory ledger. And number two, we have purchase ordered goods. So process number one, you would now do what you would do in your every day-to-day business, which is you go in, grab your batch ordering, or you might do this per job, depending on your business. Doesn't matter which way you do it. I just love showcasing the batch purchase ordering to businesses because, it saves you millions of dollars in freight. And it has phenomenal smarts like being able to re-top up your stock automatically without you having to do anything or anybody count anything. So big. And in one click, I can create the Wilson & Bradley order. I've done my low stock checks. It's been added in. Bang, bang, bang. Off we go. Phenomenal. So nice and easy. If you have the supplier integration upgrades, you can shoot that off direct to Wilson & Bradley and of Hafele as well. We're looking forward to more of those coming on board. But let's imagine I've now ordered these. So they're now set up. So these would be what we consider stock in transit. Everything in here is assigned. I've intentionally picked on assigned materials because I want to show you this flow. The last part to that equation then, of course, is the stock racks up in the back door. Now, something I love about the receiver, which not everybody is aware of, and I'm just going to quickly mention, is when we come to receive, whilst all of this is wrapped up in the purchase order, because the supplier doesn't care, it's at this moment that we can come in and we can see those differences and we can separate them. So if there is something that is short, you can choose where it goes. Super powerful hack, throwing it in there. You'll notice that all of these are assigned except for this. This is my low stock quantity, topping up my stock. It has no assignment, therefore it's coming into stock. So we're going to receive that into stock, and now that's triggered the secondary reporting point. Reporting point number one was we sourced, so we started allocating costs at purchase order, stock in transit, or inventory. Point number two is I've now purchase ordered that, so I have links throughout the software so we can see that information. This is now point number three. So where the ledger kicks in, where I've now received those goods. Sourcing, receiving. So now we're going to come back into our ledger report, and we're going to run those same numbers again. and bang, immediately we're going to start giving you some number changes so you can start working through the process. So in this process, the total value change has been 4 grand because I've received in those amounts from the goods that weren't previously assigned. Keep in mind, a bunch of this stock was already assigned in. So if we come now down to our adjustable leg, and we're seeing our entries coming through, bang, 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 bang. Beautiful. New entries coming into the system. Now, quick caveat on that, just so, not caveat, FYI, really. The reason why the order of this runs down vertically is just so that it makes sense when you run into the bottom of the numbers to know what you're looking at. So when I wrap this up, all I really want to do is see what's happened. You might not need to go to this level, so you don't even need to use the drop down. But if you do, just so you're aware, that's what will happen. It'll come down. And now I can see 2 very important ledger points. Ledger point number 1, source from inventory. Ledger point number 2, source to inventory. These numbers counterbalance each other. So the beauty of the system is there's no difference. I had 10 in stock. I assigned 10 in stock. No problems. That's all good. I actually haven't made any inventory value changes in my system, but with this new ledger, we can show you what's actually happened. And this is so critical as to why it's happened and by whom and the reason. We're getting into it. This is good. This is exciting. So that's part number 1. Part number 2 now is if I go back to job 0266 and I do the last part of that process. So I come into my materials and I turn around and I've received some of those goods. And now I come in and I pick list them. There's my 10 legs, that I had in stock. Plus we've received some other goods. The team starts doing it. I now have a new inventory ledger, which is removed, picked. We call it picked, but we've simplified it in the report. Simpler to say removed because that's how most people refer to it. And bang. Now we know not only have we purchased goods and brought in more material to our inventory because we had a purchase order be received, we've also had stock movement that's being ledgered, assigned to job, so sourced from inventory and to a job. But now we also have a live wrapping data point of what has been picked, what has been removed, the actual transference of stock. And again, wrapped up here in these numbers just to make your life really easy. So you can see them coming in, you can see those amounts. You don't even need to deep dive, but if you want to, and this is where the money shot is at. This is why this is such an expensive report and is going to provide so much phenomenal capability to your business. Is we will now give you that breakdown live, and we've even got a new format for the coloring in our reporting so that you can easily see blue is up, sienna, I'm not sure what you call that color, brown, is down. So at a glance, you can quickly and easily see that information, see it pulled apart, and know exactly what has happened. That's one item. This is going to track against every job, every work order, every purchase order, every inventory assignment, every movement in your business moving forward. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, I have simplified a lot of the explanations here just so that you're getting a really good feel for what that looks like and what it can do. And I don't want to overwhelm anyone with the amount of information that's actually been presented here. It is going to pick up a lot more things. Like I said, sourcing those units and direct adjustments will be picked up as well. Anything that's been deleted and restored, all that information will be there. What I'd rather use the remaining time to do is actually cover off on a little bit of the filtration. Because whilst it's great to have this massive ledger that's moving, thousands, tens of millions of data points, which for some people is probably really exciting. For anything like me, that's not very exciting. But I know what the data is used for, and that's the exciting part. We have the opportunity now to filter these reports, and that's the big part. A lot of data in Jobman, it's understanding how to filter them. For this report, to begin with, we've kept it very, very, very isolated so that people can get used to it, get moving with it, and it will allow us in future to make some decisions about if we need to add additional filtering. So the most important thing to remember with any new feature in Jobman is we release it, we bring it in, we allow our clients the opportunity to work with it, and then potentially improve on it as well. So again, if you're watching this webinar post, it may slightly change in the future because people come up with great ideas and Jobman listens, which is awesome. But the main key ones that we wanted to focus on were the key to your business. The first one, of course, is period, being able to see this time within a period. Keep in mind, the ledger is only being released now, so you will not be able to see any data prior to this point because none of it was being trapped. The point to this is the addition of a phenomenal feature trapping this data going forward and allowing you more movement and capability. So this will basically be, as of now, your first point, and then moving forward from here to the next 100 years, or as long as you're with Jobman, you'll be able to see that information coming through and filter down to those periods. So that's the first one that makes the most sense to most people is period. We do have some custom allocation at the moment that's limited to a year. So if you try and push it beyond a year, it won't show data. We may actually make that smaller in future, just letting everybody know, because it could be too much data. The system might not be able to load it. There's a lot going on. You can imagine you run, even if you're running a small cabinet shop and you're moving 5 jobs a week, every one of those jobs has 20 materials. There's 4 ledger entries per material per job. The data, it's gonna get crazy. So we may limit that further in future, just a heads up. But for now, you can custom, and there's a number of points. Bear in mind, it will only work from this date forwards. So you'll only be able to see data from here forwards because that's what we're trapping. The other main ones that most companies will use make a lot of sense. So SKU, I did ask for this to be put in. I really wanted the ability for companies to directly focus on key SKUs. There are probably a couple of key metrics in your business you use to forecast. One would be your carcass board, one would be your most common hinge set, so on and so forth. There's be about 20 items you work with all the time that's what you really want to focus this report on. And like our other reports, you can save a custom report so you don't have to keep going back and building the report over and over. SKU makes a lot of sense. Location, for those of you that have multiple locations, makes a bit of sense. Being able to see the movements between different locations, sorry, not between different locations, but at different locations makes a lot of sense. Although one of the great things about the ledger, may as well mention it, is we could potentially in future create a transferable ledger as well to be able to transfer stock between locations. Super useful. Category is probably how most people would utilize this report. Filter or by my MDF, filter by my hinges, filter by my handles. I want to see all the movements for my handles over the last month or last week, so on and so forth. So category would probably be the number filter most people work with, but you do have some better depth there, and supplier and brand, of course, make perfect sense. Each of these is what we call an additive filter. So if I am filtering by location and category and supplier, each of these are going to add together. So just keep that in the back of the mind. The more filters you apply, the more chances you have that you won't actually have data for it. But if you do want to get deep down and start really focusing in on certain points, the data is there for you. Have the filtration capability. Probably the most important one to understand is the bottom one. So this is an either or statement for our reporting. And that is assigned or not assigned. Do you want to focus on ledger movements for stock or for jobs? If looking at jobs, do you want to simply focus down on one job? So that's the difference there. Just keep that one in the back of your mind, that ability will be basically tailored to simply focus on an either or statement. So in this particular instance, I've told it, I only want to see the movement within the job. And the movement of the job was I sourced it from inventory to the job and then it was removed. So I actually have a net zero gain on this material because I filtered down that hard. Good news, you can start removing filters at any point. And come back and rechange the data to get more understanding. And as always, you have your summary at the top and then your breakdowns without even having to go into the categories. But the thing I love about this report is that we can. So just focusing on that adjustable leg at the values and the number of pieces brought in, easy. Now, the reason why I have 3 different inventory items here for that leg is because each of them has a slightly different price, just to show that ability to say, well, hey, we've got I think $1.09 a piece and 99 cents, so that you can see those broken up, and it gives you that opportunity to really be able to come into these reports and understand that information at a very precise level. And that's how powerful this ledger is. Last thing I'll mention on the inventory ledger stock report is, like I said, it is broken into two halves, and we have intentionally done this. The stock ledger report is the big part. It's what everybody wants to see. No point releasing a ledger if you can't read the information. So having that really powerful report there, like I said, to solve those four key problems in your business, get them solved, get the dollars back in your pocket, and the software in one thing in this platform is going to pay for itself tenfold. Huge. But what it does mean is that in the future, because we have the ledger, we have opportunity to do other things. And one of the things that will likely come into the platform, probably in 2026, I would say, will be the actual ledger itself. And this will be super useful for companies that want to be able to do really finite operational control around their inventory management. Two key use cases for that I can think of off the top of my head. One is, as I mentioned, transference between locations, huge for those businesses that have utilized the location upgrade in our software. And two, a more common use case would be the ability to stock adjust with a reason. So give you the ability to do stock adjustments, so to speak, and give the system a reason why it's been adjusted. Stock take or water damaged, or you know what I mean? So that will be the advantage. It's part of the reason we've both released the ledger and the stock report, so that we can really focus on the two functionalities independently whilst using them together. We can do things with the report based on user feedback, but also we can bring in actual ledger functionality into the software that you can do potentially cool things with. So the most important part is understanding that it's there. The best understanding you're going to get from this report is using it. I'm going to be honest. Hopefully what I've given you is a pretty good breakdown of information, and you can get you get a bit of an understanding for what it is and what those terms mean. But I think because of the power and depth of this report, it will give you a really good breakdown into that information and really start solving some massive problems. Got a couple of minutes left. I do want to dive on some questions, but I just want to quickly mention some of the other things about our reporting that are super important to note, just so you get a bit of a good understanding about what some of these things do. For the most part, in reporting and Jobman, it's pretty hard to break. So my recommendation to most companies is go in and play with them, learn how to use them, and you'll quickly figure out how to get the information you want out of the system. But as promised, a big part of these webinars is giving you that foundational understanding so you can build backwards. So I just want to give you a really common use case example today, so that you can take that information and apply it mostly for the other reports as well, with the exception of the stock ledger report. It's an independent report. It operates quite differently, and that's why I want to be really clear. It's measuring of stock in time, on time, all the time. Massive. So there are two parts to all our reports. Part number one is columns. Now, I know that sounds stupidly obvious, and I do apologize if it is obvious. However, for a lot of companies, we get a lot of support tickets saying, I'd really like to be able to see, for example, contact source on my report, but every time I build the report and I run the filters and I export it, I can't see that column. So the good news is, for the most part, we allow you to customize the columns you want to see on your reports. So part one of any of our reports is the ability to turn on and also off report filters, so that when I print this or I export it, it's only going to show you the data you want. So if you then want to go format it in a custom sense, the data's there. You can do what you like with it. That's the beauty of Excel. You can do whatever you like with data once it's been exported. It's a really powerful part of Jobman. We don't need to think through the 150,000 different custom report styles you want. We can literally give you the tools to build any custom report you want and then export the data. And for those of you who are serious about metrics in your business, think about it like this. If you move the needle in your business 5% and you're turning over 10 million, it's 100 grand back in your pocket. And I can deliver 5% needle move in Jobman in about 6 minutes in your business. So it's super important to note the data is there. For those of you who are serious about it, I do recommend you reach out to our partners, such as SKJ, who are on our website, who do PowerPoint BI reporting direct from your API, from Jobman, into custom dashboard reports the way you want to see them. Save the clicks. If it's really important to see that data, how you want to see it, get involved, check it out. For the money you spend, it's going to pay itself back 100-fold every day of the week. So part one, columns. The more columns you turn on, the more information it's going to present, which is always a good thing. The second part is our system has some what we call manageable custom columns. So in jobs and leads, they're called details, lead and job details. And you can also create what we call critical operations. So one of the great things is you're not just reliant on the information we have available for you to trap, such as contact source, lead number, contact persons, so on and so forth. All the type is a massive reporting filter that a lot of companies use. Show me all my work that I've done with builders versus residential. You know what I mean? Show me all the work that I've lost with builders versus residential, so I can start narrowing down my marketing budget. Use cases are endless, but we also give you the ability to custom build details. Now, detail fields in leads and jobs are not just there for the fun of it, like they are very useful for extra data in the jobs and leads, but they become custom columns in the software. They can be turned on the lead screen and the job screen. And most importantly, you can then bring them in. So for example, I've created a custom detail field here for sheet quantities. I can bring that into my job reports in a click. And if I choose to fill that data out in my jobs, I can get notice a big metric for a lot of companies when they work with work in progress is value is one part, time is another part. But for a lot of companies who understand lean manufacturing, the pace setter is in fact the CNC. So understanding how many sheets are coming into those jobs, at a glance, I can run a custom report, filter through that information, see them, and then start prioritizing the movement based around how I want to get paid and where my scheduling flexibility is. That's a lot of information that you can now gather and capture and utilize for your business with one column turn on in the reporting. So this is a big part of what I wanted to get across today, is the understanding the importance of reporting, not just thinking, oh, well, I can't just run a work in progress report. It's like, hey, actually, Jobman gives me a huge amount of flexibility to create work in progress reports how I want to produce them. And by simply implementing a process into your business where now we add a custom detail field, sheet quantity, and we ask the drafting team to enter that on the jobs. Now there are a number of other people within our business that can utilize that information to make really smart decisions every day. We've netted 5%. We've done it with one column. So really important to know. First part, columns. And yep, you can move them around however you like. But I think for most people, the objective here would be to print or export. The second part to the reporting then is filters. So based on the information presented, I want to filter it down. Most of the filters make a lot of sense. Just show me job number, blip. I want to filter by a particular job type or job types. Show me all the work in progress we're doing at the moment with our builders. Show me all of the work in progress we're doing at the moment with commercial, or give me my residential builder commercial job types. Give it to me in one report and I'll export it and split them up so I can start to work some numbers. Power is yours, but I think these filters make a fair bit of sense. Most people will be across these. Item type is then the secondary functionality breakdown. So the filtration of Jobman, very powerful. Show me all of the jobs that are residential that we're working on that involve a kitchen. Bang. So as I said, these filters are additive. You're adding layers to basically drill the data down as hard as you want, with the capability of being able to back them out if needed, if it gets a bit too down into the weeds for you. Super powerful. My favorite filter is, and this is again something you would not typically see in an ERP of our price point, conditional statusing. Now, I want to talk about these two more than the rest because the rest make a lot of sense for most businesses. Conditional statusing. So typically most reporting softwares operate on the in. It's one status. This job is in the status of pre-production, or show me all the jobs that are residential, but there's a kitchen involved that are in machining and the value. Show me all the jobs that are in job closed. More importantly, a very common report for a work in progress report is you've got the work in progress. So that's show me all the jobs that are currently in machining, manufacturing, installation. Bang, that one filter is going to give you, boom, your work in progress report. I have $665,000 worth of jobs right now. Okay, go grab an invoicing report. How much invoicing do I have for this month that's currently sitting in the not paid status or sent status? Bang, okay, I've got $500,000 outstanding. Now go run a stock report, show me the amount of stock I have as of today. See what I'm saying? You can very quickly and easily get the data you want. Might not all be in one report, but that's because we want to give you maximum filtration in each report to present the data how you want. And if you want to customize it in one report, have a chat to SKJ. So that's huge. Now that's awesome. That makes a lot of sense to most businesses. Where we take it the next level is we've added conditional status changes. Was in, entered, or exited. Why is this so cool? Most businesses look at a month-to-month basis or a 6-week forecast in our experience. Most manufacturers we speak to are looking at those two key numbers. If you have a job and it started installation on the 30th of September and it's due to be finished on the 10th of October, where do you want to see that information? For a lot of companies, when they're dealing in work in progress, well, they're like, well, I want it, it's currently in the status of installation. So put it in the September report because it's the work in progress for September. Other companies want to be able to delineate between those two and say, well, technically, yes, it's currently in the status of installation. However, we're actually not going to get paid for the job because the installation won't be finished into October. So I really want to put those numbers into the October work in progress. Perfect. Similarly, we can utilize this exact mantra to give you one of the most common other factors we get asked for, which is show me all the non-work in progress. So show me everything that I've got sitting there that could be converted to money if I can get it started. And one of the easiest and fastest ways to do that is show me all the jobs currently in pre-production. They're basically not in a manufacturing process yet. And if I look at that data, I can say, well, we've got $665,000 worth of jobs in work in progress. And I have $1.7 million sitting there that can go out the door as soon as I get the capacity to do so. Easy, powerful, it's all there. It's just understanding these filters. And that's what I was really excited about today. So what is the advantage then of conditional statusing? Conditional statusing means I could say, show me all of the jobs that entered the status of installation during the period of this month. So now if I do want to factor the installation that might not necessarily be complete till October, for example, but I do want to factor that into my September numbers, I can do that. I can see the work in progress. It's more of a current. So conditional statusing, phenomenal, fantastic feature. Use it. It's really powerful for the way it's going to break the filtration of the reports down. Best advice I can give you is play. Jobman is a live reporting system. It's built on an API. It's fast. Data's moving all the time. It's tracking what's going on. It's updating, material movements, effort reports, stock on hand, job costing. It's happening live all the time for your payroll. Play with these filters, get a really good handle for it, and then do ask the questions. We have no problems with. I apologize. I don't mean to sound like I'm condescending in any way. That when we get those support tickets through, we're upset. We actually love them. We love those support tickets, and it's based on the number of support tickets we've been getting around understanding reporting filters that I wanted to do this webinar. I love it. I love people seeing engaged in the platform and all putting up their hand and say, "Hey, we want to know more, Cam." And I'm like, "Great, let's do it in one format." But the best advice I can give you is play. Play to see what happens. And I tell you all of that with a caveat of there's one exceptional filter here. And this is the most common mistake we see in the filtration. Operation filtration is extremely poignant. It's designed to get right down into very exact data. And for that reason, if you simply choose an event and a period, but no particular operation, the report won't run. It's one of the most common things we see come through. People say, "Hey, I want to see, all basically the jobs that were completed yesterday," so to speak. I run a report, no data comes up, or the data is there, and no filtration changes happen. And that's because we put these boxes in just to make it really clear for everybody that these are always and or statements. So you need all three data points to be able to pull up that information. Show me all of the jobs where the event was completed for assembly this financial year. If I just tried to run that with jobs, and then he said, I have four that have come through. This is their current status. This is their values. Bang, where the assembly is completed this financial year. So really powerful, but understanding the fact that you need all 3 points in this, quite useful. For the rest of the filters, they're always and. Do I want to filter by contact type or contact and type? Keep in mind, if you choose contact wrong type, it's not going to show the data. Source, very, very powerful. Like I said, understanding that one key data point right at the beginning of your process, adding the source, super useful. Members and member types, really powerful part of our software. Show me all of the jobs that were completed this financial year in instead of assembly. Probably a more common use case for this type of report would be site installation, where the site installer was me. No, not me in this instance, but me, you know what I'm saying? And then off we go. Now, the advantage is probably not going to come up with anything because it's a demo site and I don't complete the installation, but you get the idea. Really powerful. The events are also can utilize where things have been started, completed, or due to start. So it's not just what tasks have been completed. Show me all the operations where, again, all of the installation is expected to be started on the 1st of October, the first week of October, so I can get an understanding for how much work is going to be getting out that week, so I know what I'm going to get paid the week after. Bang, run that report, get excited, have that information there, and off you go. Last part to that, of course, then is exclude work orders and hide values. What does that mean? So typically in a lot of the job reports, especially the job cost report and the job reports, a lot of companies break a single parent job into a lot of work orders. You may want to simply wrap that information up. So especially in the job cost report, if you have a, say, $1 million project or a $500,000 project and you've broken up into 20 work orders, option one is run the report, hide the work orders, and what it will do is it will just wrap all that information up into one job number. We estimated $500,000. We spent 200 grand on materials, 200 grand on labor operations. Should have made 100 grand. Happy days. Actually, I was expecting to make more than that. What went wrong? Now, don't exclude the work orders, unwrap it, go through the work orders and look at that information individually because they are tracked as independent jobs within jobs. So a really powerful feature in the software is you can break that down. And of course, hide value. Now, super weird question. I know you're probably thinking in the back of your head, why would we want to hide value in our reports? And the reason being is one of the great things about Jobman reports is they are actually live data. So even if your team doesn't have access to reporting, you shut it down based on their role, they don't need access to it. But there's someone in your business that might need a particular type of work in progress report, such as I am in charge of the project management of all your builder work with a supervisor, where the supervisor is Deanne, and I need to know how many jobs we've got going on at the moment. So I could have a quick meeting with them and give them a status report, let them know where we're up to. Yep, that job's in machining, that job's in assembly, that job's due out for install next week, that's one's dispatched, this one's sitting in maintenance, we've got some repair, so on and so forth. You can drill that data, find it in the software, bring it together, but then you don't necessarily want that person knowing it's not their job to understand and correlate the values of those jobs. They're just having a conversation with the building supervisor. So let's shoot a copy of the report to both members, hide the values, and off we go. Happy days. If I had more time, I would go into the rest of these reports. I will probably do that at some point. I'll probably run a follow-up webinar to this because this has been phenomenal, and hopefully you've certainly found so as well. And I will go into a little bit more deep diving in those, but I think that gives you a really good understanding of just seeing what the filters do and how to use them, and start running those reports and then save them as custom reports. Once you're happy with them, keep them going. And like I said, don't be scared of the idea of going to third parties to build dashboarding. I know maybe it's free. You can do what you like with it. So I'm not saying you have to go to the PowerPoint BI way. There are other solutions out there that people have utilized to build their own custom dashboard reports. Or for most people, they just build a list of custom reports in the system and they run them every week and bring them up with all that data. What hopefully you have gained from today, however, is just how powerful and exciting this new stock ledger or inventory ledger and stock ledger report will be. And I think it solves some massive problems for businesses. It's going to put huge dollars in people's pockets without us having to jack the price of the software, which is great. I think the more we return value to our clients, just the better. The more this becomes a no-brainer for your business. And really, that's what we're here to do. That's our job as the software platform, is to keep providing a solution that gives you everything you need to be able to achieve the outcomes you're looking for.